Welcome to the Inspiration North podcast, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, Living Life Gracefully with Adna Sablyich. We talk about coming to the UK from Bosnia as an 18-year-old au pair to escape the war, how acting to her is the juice of exploring the limits of our humanity, and her son's awesome business idea.
Adna is an actress and coach who uses the expressive and collaborative properties of drama and stage performance to heal post-lockdown traumas of isolation. With over a decade in the arts and entertainment industry and as long in education, Adna brings her own brand of understanding of the benefits of drama and acting as transformative human engagements which surpass the narrow boundaries of arts consumption we've all been accustomed to for decades of the pre-pandemic life. Under the flagship statement, improvisation is the antidote to isolation, Adna brings together adults from all walks of life to a shared experience of awakening and recovery at a new level of interactive fun. Check out her blog site to find out more about her dramatic performance expertise, which is acourseingrace.weebly.com. Welcome, Adna, to the podcast. So thank you ever so much for agreeing to come on today. We're really excited about hearing your story. We start at the very beginning. Did you know what you wanted to be when you were little?
I did know what I wanted to be when I was very little. I always wanted to be an actress. And here I am, against all odds. I don't know how old I was, and now in view of everything that's happened since, it always feels a little embarrassing to tell this story. But I was very little, and I watched Gone with the Wind with my mum. Now perceived as one of the most pathetic and melodramatic movies of all times, but that's what it was, and I just I loved Vivien Leigh in the way that little girls love actresses they want to be like.
I've got a picture of her up on my wall in Gone with the Wind. So yeah,
do you really?
I loved it as well. Me and my mum used to sort of, clear out the living room and sit and watch it for like hours and hours, because it's a long one, isn't it?
Well, that's how long it lasts, for hours and hours.
Read the book actually as well. It was quite good.
Oh my God, I never knew there was a book.
Oh yes. There's more children. She has more children. Yes.
What? The Vivien Leigh biography or Gone with the Wind?
Gone with the Wind.
Right, Gone with the Wind. My God, it looks like Gone with the Wind was just a tool for me to want to be an actress. I wasn't really interested in the story. Maybe I wanted to kiss Clark Gable, but that's about it.
Yeah, he's a hottie.
In the way he actually never gets to kiss her. Do you can you recall that? In my mind, he does kiss her, but actually in the movie, he never gets to kiss her. Anyways, that's a memory, and that's also the pivotal moment, a formative moment of me kind of realizing, oh, hang on, is this something that I could do too? Mm-hmm. And Mum said, what, you mean like be an actress? Yeah? Well, yeah. Okay, yeah. That's what I want to do. I'm going to do that. So all that maths and Sauerkraut and, foreign languages and all that went out of the window in one yes. My mum was a very involved parent and very proactive and engaged in my education. She just jumped on board and found, the most suitable youth acting group in town and signed me up and introduced me. And I really, the more I did it, the more I fell in love with it in different ways and for other reasons, completely other reasons. Gone with the Wind was gone with the wind. The minute I started doing it, it didn't really matter anymore. It just kind of took me there. I started with some very alternative, for this sort of climate and this society and this culture, it would be alternative. It wasn't alternative at the time then. Sort of approaches to theatre making and acting. They weren't straightforward, scripted things. They were more of the devising things, which in the UK is still considered as alternative, but it has a very long history and tradition. Globally. I had a great time. My first production was Alice in Wonderland, and I was a snake. It was good. That was enough for me. The second one was Antigone, and I did the prophet, traditionally a female, a male role. And the blind prophet, and that director never cast a female, confusing female and male, never cast a male actor into that role again. He kind of just saw that it was meant to be for a female somehow, the wisdom of the prophet. I think I kind of continued a little bit with that tradition of having myself cast into male roles where possible ever since, because much later on, we're talking, 2000s, I don't know even when, 2000s, between 2000 and 2010, I worked with a theatre company called Cardboard Citizens. You know them?
No? Sounds good.
Well, they are good. They are based in East London, and they specialize in making theatre with and for the homeless people. That's Cardboard Citizens. I did Wojciech with them, another continental classic, and I did the role of the doctor. I don't think Adrian ever cast a male role a male actor into that role again. So I don't know. From Vivian Lee and wanting to be a pretty girl, kissed by Clark Gable. I went a long way. And those were my experiences in my hometown of Mostar, in former Yugoslavia, now Bosnia and Herzegovina. And then it all got abruptly interrupted by the 1990s invasion. And I made a move here and then had a big break in all of that pursuit until I, restarted it again.
So what was that like as a transition? Because obviously you're leaving one culture to come to another. Did you already speak the language? Was it quite a culture shock? What was your experience of that process?
Yeah, those are good questions. And yes to both. My mum, like I said, being an engaged parent and very aspirational, she got me to learn English since I was 4. For no reason whatsoever, just pure aspiration, you know.
Or she might have been a prophet.
She might have been a prophet, that's it. So her daughter was going to speak English fluently, and that was just it. And I moved to the UK at the age of 18, speaking English fluently, but not very confidently, because all of the learning was from books. I spoke correct English, but I just not fluently. Yeah, just correctly, not fluently or confidently. I needed a few years to kind of get going, and to be able to engage in any conversation and say anything I want. But yeah, I mean, I could certainly plug in and engage in the society and function without a translator. I never had a translator, you know, so. So that was very helpful. Thanks, Mom. I've been thanking her all my life for that, all my adult life for that, absolutely. But it was an enormous culture shock, both because of the circumstances in which I came, and because of the sheer difference in cultures. So I studied a little bit about the culture shocks at the time. I knew that I was experiencing something. I didn't know it was called a culture shock. And I think someone at the job center gave me some kind of book. I can't remember. It's a long time ago. And I realized that generally you get 2 types of culture shock. And it's true, looking at my friends around me and my, fellow countrymen and women, you do broadly get one of the 2, which is either you reject everything from the previous culture and embrace everything from the new one, good and bad.
Or British and British, yeah.
Or in most cases, people immediately kind of plunge into the nostalgia for their old culture and criticize everything in the new one, which is a little understood, but it's just a normal process that people go through. Well, I got the first one. So, yeah, I didn't have any friends here. I came completely on my own. I came as an au pair, started off with the English and carried on with the English forever. So I didn't really know many, people from Yugoslavia. So mine was like, yeah, I'm in heaven. This is good. Everything all just rubbish. War. I mean, who wants war? Yeah. I mean, this is great. So everything was great. But I wasn't very happy. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy also because there was a lot of turmoil and danger and constant threat to my family and friends over there, which I had to follow, worry about, be helpless about, and all of that, while at the same time try to find my way and place in this new society and function in it to some extent, in some way.
Yeah. So
that took a few years.
Yeah. So what was the decision about coming across to the UK? What?
Yeah. So it was a very strange set of circumstances. I come from a small town called Mostar in the southern part of Bosnia and Herzegovina, in Herzegovina. And the war and the shooting and the actual shelling and everything started in April 1992. It was already very hot. So we spent most of the time in the cellar, in the it's not a cellar. Gosh, what's the word? Basement. In the basement of an apartment block. A lot of people, 16 households in a small basement. It was a little bit cooler there, but it was still very hot. So people would just go back to their flats and risk, staying there. We did too, and we lived on the top floor, on the eighth floor. And luck will have it that one day a shell broke into our flat, into our apartment, and we escaped it very narrowly because we were having lunch. And the siren went off, which meant that the shelling was going to start. It was the announcement. And my dad and I flew down to the basement. My mum wanted to clear the table. But there was something about my brother that just said, okay, no, this time you just have to go. You have to go and you have to hurry up. And he kind of kicked her out of the flat. And they walked 2 floors down when the shell hit. I think the way it hit, they probably would have survived, but they may have gone deaf or something like that, if they'd stayed. Anyways, that meant that home was now destroyed. So we kind of slept at neighbors' places, at different places, sometimes up there if it wasn't too windy or whatever. But all that meant, so this happened I think in July. It was already, I think, maybe June. No, earlier. It was still spring, I think. I can't remember. It was hot anyway. So, it was becoming kind of increasingly unsafe, crowded. Some solutions had to be found, but people were still in the denial that this is even happening, let alone how much longer it's going to be happening. It's madness. And some people started going down to the coast, to Croatia. They were just, I don't know, they were taking the refugees from Bosnia and Herzegovina just because they had to, because we were there. And, they wouldn't just have people sleep on the street. So can't remember who took us there. Me and my brother went there. Can't remember how we found the accommodation. We just found somewhere to stay. And one day I bought a magazine from a kiosk, something I never do. I never have done. I don't read magazines. I don't do now either. I never have done. One of the 5-10 magazines I ever bought in my life. And there was an article there from an agency in Zagreb, which sent young women from the war-stricken Bosnia and Herzegovina to work as au pairs in the UK. And I kind of clung on to that. So, okay, well, here's a ticket. I can get out. If we want me to get out, I can get out. Mm-hmm. So I started, my mum and dad said, I turned 18. That was it. Just turned 18, actually. And actually, this is important because once I turned 18, I was obliged for mobilization. in my hometown. What's the word? I was expected to help out with the wounded and in the hospital.
So conscription.
Yeah, conscription. That's it. So now at this moment, it was more difficult to get out. So that was the barrier, how to get the permit from them to travel to Zagreb in the first place, to meet this agency, no online services, there's no internet, can't do this digitally.
It's like, tick, gone.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Adna. Where do I fly from? No. This was 1992, a war-stricken country. Anyways, so I had to go to Zagreb. I had to get the permit. I got the permit somehow. That's a long story. It doesn't matter. And went to Zagreb. I met this agency and they put me on a plane to a family in Finchley Central in London. Yeah. That's how I came. Yeah. And she awaited me at the airport. Again, it was hot, even in London. 15th of August, 1992. And I remember a funny little saying that a friend of mine who published the book about her transition to the UK, she has it in there. The agency in Zagreb gave me some instructions on how to behave when I arrived.
Brilliant.
And one of the instructions was, when you arrive to the airport, do mention to the family, to whoever picks you up, that you're feeling very sweaty from the flight and you need to take a shower. I was like, why? What if I'm not sweaty? No. This is an indication that you're clean.
Wow.
We don't want to embarrass ourselves with our au pair ambassadors.
Yes, we don't want to stinky au pairs.
From the basements of Bosnia and Herzegovina. They don't know who you are. You want to give them a hint that you do take showers.
Excellent. You can imagine if it was an 18-year-old boy, that would be a good conversation to have, but it's slightly different with girls, I would imagine.
Oh my God. And how would he deliver it?
It's a massive stereotype there, but
Yeah, it is, Or maybe pull out the paper from his pocket and go, oh yeah, I'm going to take a shower.
This is why she does the male role. She's so good at it. If anybody wants an 18-year-old, 15-year-old boy, so Kevin and Perry, get in touch with Adna.
Terrible cliche, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
Now you make me feel embarrassed.
Oh, sorry.
all those acting lessons.
Oh, bless you. That sounds like a good book. You'll have to let us know. I think it's interesting to read all the other rules as well.
Yeah. I wish I'd kept the paper. There was a lot of jewels in there.
I can imagine.
I was in too much of a hurry to ditch it. Yeah. So that was the arrival. I was paid £35 an hour, £35 a week.
So how long did you au pair?
Until December that year.
Almost like, I'm out of here. So what was the plan after that?
Well, it sounds like I did that, but I didn't. The situation back home worsened a great deal, and my brother, being 15 at the time anyway, was now under the danger of being sort of mobilized, taken into the army because they didn't have enough men, and that just flagged up. God, I got to get him out now as well, but I've no idea how. So I had a chat with my mistress in Finchley Central about the idea of potentially just bringing him here, there. And I don't know where would we go from there, but just, I don't know, helping me. I don't know. And she said, well, I have a problem with that. I think we have enough homeless people of our own to bring any more homeless people in. So I can't help you with it, you know. So I thought, okay, fair enough. And I sought just some other routes, you know, which meant that this now gets a little bit complicated, potentially boring. But in order to help him out, I had to go independent, and I had to apply for the political asylum myself. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't do that while I was under someone else's protectorate. Mm-hmm. So I had to leave that job, do the whole thing with the Home Office, go independent, start on my own, and then start looking for some ways of helping my brother out. It took 2 years for me to find a way to get him out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You brought him across.
I did, yeah. Mm-hmm. He's back there now. Okay.
It's one of the second type, the nostalgic type.
Yeah. Probably, yes. I think he was. He's all right. He's a bit younger than me.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was the arrival. We haven't got to acting yet.
No.
More drama.
It's good.
Enough drama in the personal life, you know, to have to dip into the profession. But yeah, what do you want to know next?
So how did you make it back into acting? Because I think it's probably quite it's not massively surprising that in terms of your survival and your needs, kind of getting that to a level before you could obviously go and fulfill your dream again.
Yeah, exactly. There was no such thing as a dream for a few years. I mean, my family were under a constant threat. Their lives were under threat. You know, there were times when they just didn't have enough to eat. It was because they were cut off. Things got worse. They a lot of turmoil. They really have been through a lot. A lot of physical and emotional abuse. So most of my time was spent watching the news and communicating or trying to communicate with them through the Red Cross. And I had an appointed officer, local officer at the time, who kind of worked with me and tried to get my messages there and get their messages back to me. A very, very slow process. All of my mum's letters were months old. So, I was constantly on the edge of trying to find the ways of whether they are alive at any given moment. So that lasted a couple of years. Yeah, that lasted 2 years. And then my brother coming over was a breakthrough, but the struggle still continued for my mum and dad. And then in 1995, this Dayton peace agreement was signed. And frankly, a terrible agreement as it is. If, you dig a little bit deeper to find out about the complicated Balkan politics, you will understand what I mean. But it did mean a ceasefire at last, and for real. When I say at last, a lot of ceasefire agreements and contracts had been signed which weren't respected and which were disappointing and failures. But this time it did stop. It stopped, and we were all relieved. Everyone was relieved. And that it was the dawn of new beginning. I found a new place with my brother and with some new Yugo friends, Bosnians. For a change, I kind of hooked up with that community after 3 years of being here. I finally found a community, and that felt really good, and I really needed it at the time. I had a good time. I had a good couple of years from 95, from the ceasefire. Just everyone was celebrating here and over there. It was amazingly positive. I think we were all kind of on the up. We were drugged by the adrenaline of it. And in that time, my brain just immediately went, where was I? What was it? Oh yeah, there was that, and Vivian Lee and all that stuff, and theatre, and oh my God, and Clark Gable and all that. Yeah, let's have a bit of that. What do I need to do? So what I needed to do was go through some quals and things. So they first sent me to a college for a 2-year course, and I went to the audition. And the teacher just went, oh, let's just have you for a year. You don't need 2 years here, have a year and then go to drama school, just go through it, Okay. So I did. I had a great time there, met new friends, which had nothing to do with war. Some of them didn't know where Bosnia was. Oh, how refreshing. Please don't know where Bosnia is. That's cool. That's fine. Let's not talk about Bosnia. Just doing something completely different, engaging in other people's problems and dramas, and that's all cool. Learning dance, lovely, the college, City and Islington, by the way, a lovely college with a thriving performing arts department. They really helped me a lot. They encouraged me. They kept telling me I was good and talented and all the things you want to hear in that moment in life, and helped me enroll at drama school. In 96, I started a 3-year course in acting to become a professional actress. I was one of 2 people with a foreign accent on the course. This is significant because, having a foreign accent in this industry is very, very difficult. It's a difficult call. But no one told me that at the time. They told me my accent was lovely and exotic and different, and it was all the good things. They didn't tell me that I'd have next to no work whatsoever when I come out. But I found my way around it, and it's fine, and I never gave up.
Yeah, it's that resilience.
Yeah. The resilience is the word that you and I mentioned, I think, in our first chat.
Yeah.
Tenacity and resilience. It's true. I do have a lot of it. I mean, I have to say, now I have my own son. He's 9 years old. Resilience in the UK education is the number one buzzword. And frankly, I hate it. I think we are putting too much emphasis on children's resilience in education.
That's why do they have to survive it? Why is it so bad that they need this resilience?
Yeah. Maybe they will. Maybe they will have to survive it. I don't know. But I think that not enough emphasis is given to their natural and organic growth, to their freedom of thought, to their freedom of choice, to the consent in education, theirs and parental, and all the other things that we can have in such a prosperous and free and peaceful society. But I think that resilience is some kind of old world hangover that just has to stick to our curriculum because the curriculum itself hasn't changed. So I say all of this because I'm now, like my mom, I am now a very engaged mom. But in different ways to the way my mom was. I think that my resilience comes from several sources. Yes, my mom did discipline me a lot. And being a girl, I was very obedient and receptive to everything she threw at me. I just soaked up all the knowledge, all the requirements, all the expectations. I played up to everything. I just wanted to make everyone happy, and I did. And then in my, at the start of my adulthood, I got the challenge of survival that people rarely get. I just, had to swim or sink, and I swam, and then I chose one of the hardest careers in the world, just to make things a little bit more challenging for myself, and added to my accent as well. My God, I wouldn't do it now. So I needed a lot of resilience, and it proved that I had it. I kind of responded to all the challenges, and whenever I fell, I got up again. So, so I do have that. Yeah.
What is it about acting that really gets you excited, gives you energy? What sort of thing is it?
Yeah, that's a lovely question. That's the best question. Yeah. So what is it? On the personal level, as in me being an actress, as opposed to me teaching acting, which is another facet of acting for me and another facet of me as a professional and a person. When it comes to me, it's the feeling that it's the kind of feeling of being and existing that I can never find in the everyday life. It's impossible to do it unless you're actually trying to get something out of someone. And I don't do that. So it is that juice of exploring the limits of our humanity and what we could be and different facets of ourselves that we don't have the opportunities to explore in everyday life because we don't have the sounding boards for that. Also, the stretching of our personalities, such as, can I, at the age of 47, still feel and come across to others as a 20-year-old? Can I still sound like that? Can I still look like that? Would I be able to trick someone that I'm, then again, without wanting to look like a man, could I inherit some properties, some male properties that would help me communicate masculinity of thought and movement and voice to others that they would expect from a man? I can't do that in real life. Where? When? Then the poetry that we get to say the plays, the stories, the poetry of stage and screen is just so beautiful and poignant that it calls for being said and performed and delivered. It's not meant to stay on paper. Yet it's the human. It's one of the biggest human endeavors. Whoever came up with that. How did we come about to even write poetry and then come to the idea that it shouldn't remain written, that it should be somehow spoken and communicated, and not spoken only to yourself in your isolation and privacy, but to others. It's the kind of beauty that I just couldn't live without now. For me, it's a need, because I've had it, and if I lost it, it would be a huge loss if I lost it for whatever reason. To others, I think it's a potential discovery and just beauty and opportunity. What acting means to me when I communicate it to others, as in teaching, has been changing since I started teaching, actually. And it always responds to the time and place. And right now, in this unprecedented time, did anyone mention that these times are unprecedented?
No, because we've never had any global pandemics before now. Not that unprecedented, whatever the word is. It's like nobody could have predicted this happened. I'm like, no. It's happened before.
Yeah.
So, one might have thought it could happen again.
Yeah. Industrial era and all of that. Yeah, in this time of the post-lockdown, because pandemic to me, having been lucky enough to not get COVID or have anyone close to me suffer from it, or suffer badly. I've had people who've been diagnosed, but they've not really suffered in the long term. To me, the pandemic so far has meant the lockdown. That was my suffering. And it is the character of this pandemic. For those who've been unlucky, obviously the character is something else, much more fatal and physically eroding. But for me and for most people, it's been the isolation from life and from people. So I think in this lockdown stroke post-lockdown or intermittent lockdown.
In out, shake it all about,
time, I think things like drama, including drama, performance, acting, improvisation, all things to do with having to come together with other people in person and move are crucial to our recovery. So when I teach now, and I am back to teaching, I'm not even thinking about plays, about theatre, about performance. I'm not thinking about the industry. What industry? We don't have it yet. Who knows when we're going to have it and how much of it, and what it's going to look like. All I'm thinking is just get back to yourselves, just recover, breathe, just breathe, This is what you need to do now. And I've got some tools to help you accelerate that process and make it more enjoyable and confident and meaningful. So that's what acting for me is now when I teach it.
Yeah.
I'd still like to go back to the boards and to the screen, potentially, mostly to the boards myself. But frankly, I don't know how. Don't know where, don't know how. That's, for the time being, that's pretty dead.
Yeah. But I would say that what you're doing at the moment is absolutely crucial. Because I know sort of you've had some times of extreme loneliness yourself throughout your life. And if you can help to bring people together and help them to find the joy and play and creativity and connection.
Yes. That's a really good reminder, actually. Thank you. I have had a lot of issue with loneliness. I was very excited to get out and come here and use my English skills. But very soon I realized that I was alone, of course, and that I had to do everything I had to do on my own, and that when I was down, I wouldn't have anyone but myself to lean on. And it, that period of the first 3-4 years, especially the first 3 years, did kind of build an issue about loneliness for me. So if there is anything I'm scared of in life, it would be that, I guess, loneliness, which does tie in with being an actor and in theatre, because you're never alone there. You're always surrounded by other people. It's a very social career, social life. And I love it. I always have done, but even more so. And I guess that does somehow subconsciously tie in with my primary purpose of what acting is and is for, and what drama is for. What the biggest benefit and what the best benefit of it is. For potentially for others as well as for myself. And now is the time, like you said, when that is relevant. It's relevant to everyone.
Absolutely.
Not just like people like me.
And it's one of the most sort of human things that we do, that's storytelling. So if you go back to caveman times, stories are passed from generations. And I do an exercise with coaching clients that 2,000 years ago, what would you do? What would your job be within your community? And so many people say that storytelling, that teacher, that wise person that's passing on the lessons to the younger generations.
Yes. That's really interesting. What would you be? I'm not sure. I'd want to play somehow. Something playful, something unstructured, and something interactive. Not sure I'd want to be a wise man or woman.
Wise person.
Never been a wise woman, but I have been a wise man several times.
Oh, that makes me giggle. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Okay. So now, since mid-June, about start of mid-June, I am back to teaching in person. Hooray! A lot of people, including actors, freak out at that. They've not gone there. They're still on Zoom. I did a bit of Zoom at the start of last year with kids, of all people, because I run this after-school extracurricular club, drama club for my son and his mates. When it kicked in, the lockdown, we transferred to Zoom and they stayed with me. Oh, bless them. I struggled so much finding my feet, but we did some great things in the end. We turned Beano comic strips into radio dramas. It was fun. It was great. Yeah. And used these snap camera, the snap camera app you get on Zoom to dress up and do characters and things. It was very chaotic. And I'd be sweating cold sweat by the end of my hour and needing a vodka and tonic, just to kind of go, I've done another one. Oh, my God. Yeah. But I did it for a year or less than a year, whatever. I'm not doing it anymore because I just can't. I'm the one who said, I can't do this. And I also can't justify charging your parents for this. And the parents all came to Zoom. It's okay. It's fine. We are good.
Yes, please just look after them for 10 minutes. I'm just knackered.
Carry on. But I just ran out of ideas of what to do drama-wise on Zoom with kids. I don't know. Another Beano? No, please, no. So I stopped that anyway. A lot of comedy to be sucked out of that, but that's enough. It's just I just kind of stayed put. I got furloughed. I'm very lucky like that. Amazing, and an actor anywhere really in the world in 2020 and 21 who's being paid for doing nothing. I mean, how did this happen to me? I'm literally resting. This time I am actually resting. So the college has been very kind and they've been, generous and very caring. But enough is enough. I actually love my job. I want to work. Can I please work? All of that, you don't need to change the money and stuff. I just want to go back. And so you know how the compulsory education went back on the 8th of March? The colleges did, and higher education, but extra restrictions got imposed on the performing arts delivery. So singing and drama and some instruments have been, affected the most because they require speaking or blowing or producing voice or breath turned towards one another. So without having to just sit still back to back and speak, it wasn't possible. It wouldn't have been worth it. And the restrictions have eased a little now. We still have a lot of them, but enough for us to be able to go back on site and teach and learn in some very clinical manner, albeit, but it's a start. And hopefully we will be able to build on that rather than go back. I teach several courses in the college, some of which are geared towards the young people and adults who are seriously interested in the profession and would like to pursue it into the industry eventually when they can.
Mm.
Some of these courses are qualifications, others are geared towards the working professionals. They have traditionally been in the evenings, but now that the working patterns have changed, we're thinking of introducing some during the day as well, which will be a blessing to many, to me as well, to a lot of people.
Mm-mm.
Other courses are basically applied drama, which means that the drama and acting and performing arts are used to benefit people in other ways. For example, build their confidence. So I run a course which is called Drama for Confidence, which traditionally attracts people with some issues they're dealing with in their lives at the moment, from simple lack of confidence for whatever reason, maybe due to personality, through recovering from an addiction, to long-term unemployment, or maybe getting out of a relationship, or perhaps some kind of abuse and stuff like that. So the drama is used. The exercises are not that different, but they are there for different reasons, and we use the time to reflect on our personal issues and to discuss how we can use the exercise, how the exercises have helped us deal with them.
Mm.
Then I run a course which is Drama for Retirement, which attracts retired people who, throughout their lives in different ways have engaged or wanted to engage with the poetry, the dramatic poetry, the plays, the stories. So we read plays. And we enjoy them. I also run dance and movement for the over 55s.
Mm.
That's good. That's quite undersubscribed, but I have enough people in the space to boogie about a bit, or albeit in their marks the spots on the on the
You
floor.
dance there, nowhere else.
Nowhere else. Yeah. Watch what I'm doing, copy, and then see you next week.
Mm.
What else do I do? Yes, I do another movement class for people with bad back, and mostly yoga-centric and warm-up, kind of dramatic warm-up centric, not really dance.
Mm.
I ran more evening courses, but they're boiled down to one at the moment. So we'll see what happens as we reopen. There's a lot of demand for those.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Before the pandemic, and in that short window from September to December last year, I ran an evening course, which was like a production course. So I'd get people who had some experience in drama to come in, and we'd work on one piece for the term and then present it in some way to an invited audience. So before the pandemic, we did that in space. But last year, the winter term last year, I did a short radio drama. So I see who I have, I cast them, and I find an appropriate piece for their age and gender. And then we just work on that. We basically do a small production.
Sounds like you keep yourself very busy, Adna.
Oh, well, it sounds like a lot, but it's still a part-time job. And I'm still in the gig economy. I'm still gigging. I'm still self-employed, it's still all love.
Awesome. Cool. That's thank you ever so much for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh, there's a little bit more to go. Yeah, it's
yes. I'm all up for that.
We have the quick fire round. So James is going to ask you the first really random question.
Mm-hmm.
So if you opened a restaurant,
if I had been in a restaurant,
if you open your own restaurant,
if I opened my own,
yes, what kind of food would you serve?
Oh, Balkan food. Come on.
And would you have a theme to it?
I would.
To the place.
And what an interesting question. My son, Zach, has created this whole business plan of a restaurant and a war-themed children's activity center. What with him being a boy's boy, he'd of course have tanks and guns, all pretend, and these underground tunnels and trenches and all the things that you can find on the battlefield. So they would all be available to the 7, I feel like I'm advertising his business now, but okay, they are all available to the 7 to 18-year-olds. It comes with the restaurant. It's kind of adjacent to the restaurant. Mm-hmm. There's a small charge for that if you're eating, and a slightly higher charge if you're not eating. If you're eating the Balkan food because it's a Balkan battlefield. But the Balkan food, do you know anything about Balkan food?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, I've been to Croatia, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a mixture of Turkish, Greek, Russian, Austrian, Austrian-Hungarian, and a bit of Italian, which has more influences where you've been in Croatia and, closer to the border with Italy, obviously. But the overall cuisine influence is Austrian, Hungarian, and Turkish. I think those are the main ones, And then, obviously the Balkans have their own derivatives of all of those, and kind of fusions of dolmas, sarmas, kebabs, and, all our own versions of them, So,
yummy. When's this going to be open? It sounds like it.
I know. I'm up for that. I need some funding.
Yes, I know. We need some funding. If anybody listening would like to fund this amazingly awesome sounding restaurant area, then
it would also be kind of in the middle of nowhere. So not exactly in the middle of nowhere. I mean, where can you be in the middle of nowhere in the UK? Half an hour drive from somewhere. But it's kind of in the field. So there's a lot of space for this activity center, which kind of goes into the woods and stuff. And there's a beer garden and a restaurant garden and, I'm excited about this again. We've been fantasizing about this for ages, about this restaurant, delicatessen, activity center, battlefield.
I love it. My little boy's obviously lockdown's probably created some ingenious children. So he's got a business plan. So he's writing a pitch. He's writing a pitch at the moment to get some investment from his grandparents.
What for?
Oh, I'll let him tell you. Maybe we could get the boys together so they could mentor each other in their businesses.
Absolutely, that'd be lovely.
That's hilarious. Cool. So question number 2.
Okay.
If animals could talk, which would be the rudest?
I don't know why, but I'm thinking that a meerkat's fart would probably be lethal. But maybe they can talk out of their bum. So, rude and smelly. Meerkats.
Meerkats, yes. Keep an eye on them. Yeah.
And question number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So which actor have you seen play a character so well that when you see them in another movie or TV show, you can't actually get that character out of your head?
That's a question for someone else. You know, I can't.
It's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, James.
No, yeah. But I always can, because I don't watch shows in the way that a regular audience member does. I watch the devices behind making it, because I know what they're doing. So my appreciation level is different. I just wonder whether that's ever happened to me. I don't know. Maybe Vivian Leigh. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I couldn't imagine her in any other pose other than in Clark Gable's, Kiss Me Now. I don't know. It's been a while since I saw Vivian Leigh. Anyway.
I hadn't almost appreciated how trained people in the industry must see through. I'm a nightmare watching things with, aren't I? Because I literally, we're halfway through something, I'm like, I know what's going to happen here. And I'll and I won't even get permission to say it and just ruin it for everybody. And 9 times out of 10, I'm right.
Yeah. You instinctively understand the structure of storytelling. There's and we all do, actually. And there's a lovely book which is a study into our instincts about storytelling. It's called. It's the stuff like rags to riches.
Yes. The hero's journey
and all those things, So this guy split them into 7 types. Very interesting. And he talks in a lot of detail. It's a big book. It talks in a lot of detail about the structure of each of them. And how we kind of instinctively respond to those impulses in storytelling. Where does our imagination get the ideas to create these such effective stories, for ourselves? And then also, how come we can tell, like yourself, what's going to happen next? How come? It's an instinct.
I don't think I should read that book. I really want to, but I think it'll just make it worse. Just make it worse. It's like, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching anything with it now. So the last question, Adna, is if we could go back to your 18-year-old self to give her a big hug, what advice would you give to her now?
To not be afraid that everything's going to turn out fine, and that she's doing the right thing.
For our listeners, if you would like to follow Adna, see what she's up to, best place to go to her blog, A Course in Grace.weebly.com, and the link will be in the show notes. We've really enjoyed chatting to you today, Adna.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much for having me.
We could have had you one day.
Lovely.
On all day. Can't say the words.
Lovely. And you really provoked some interesting thoughts in my head as well. And what a lovely way to start the day. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway and tell everybody.